This man came home early from a business trip, planning to surprise his wife, but as soon as he walked through the door, he discovered divorce papers on the table. He was about to sign them, but the pencil in his hand kept mysteriously breaking. When he couldn't find a second pen in his bag, he had no choice but to go out in his bathrobe to buy one. Unexpectedly, he accidentally dropped the pen he'd just bought on the street. Just as he bent down to pick it up, a car suddenly crashed into him. Jack was then rushed to the hospital with multiple scrapes and bruises, and ended up in a wheelchair. The driver didn't try to shirk responsibility. Normally after being hit, you'd expect to be angry. But Jack inexplicably found himself attracted to her. So that very evening, Jack invited Annie to dinner together. During their conversation, he learned that Annie was a chef, and the restaurant where she worked would be opening soon. He praised Annie, saying she would definitely achieve her dreams. Annie was clearly interested in Jack too, but when she noticed the wedding ring on his hand, she could only tell Jack that when the restaurant opened, he could bring his wife along to the celebration. Jack neither agreed nor declined, so a month later, he gave his answer. On the day the restaurant officially opened for business, he chose to come and congratulate her. When Annie saw that Jack had accepted her previous invitation, she immediately went out to greet him, only to discover he was alone. That's when Jack told Annie he was already divorced. In that moment, the love that had been building up in his heart finally poured out. They ultimately became the most important people in each other's lives. As sunlight streamed into the room, Jack got dressed and was about to leave. He saw Annie's award photo on the table and realized what an accomplished woman she was. Annie came out and told him all about her award-winning experience. It was the happiest moment of her life because people had recognized her talent and given her tremendous validation. Soon the two officially became lovers. They would appear together at the morning market, selecting ingredients for lunch. It was a beautiful time of passionate romance. Jack casually talked about his past with his ex-wife. Due to work, they had lived in different cities for a long time. Eventually his ex-wife couldn't stand the constant traveling between two cities and chose to end the relationship, bringing their marriage to an end as well. When Jack talked about family and marriage, he expressed wanting to have a lovely child. But before meeting Jack, Annie had always been committed to single life. For her, children were actually a burden. This was their first disagreement. Annie's way of handling it was to change the subject. She taught Jack how to crack an egg perfectly. However, his thoughts were still stuck on their earlier conversation, but Annie completely didn't hear what he was saying. Jack brought up the topic again, but unfortunately neither could convince the other. After this argument, they didn't see each other for a long time. Finally Jack came to apologize to Annie, but he had a bad habit. He got so nervous when talking to people that he couldn't get his words out. After he struggled for a while, Annie finally understood his sincere apology, and Annie hadn't left because of that argument either. As their relationship deepened, marriage plans began to take shape. Annie brought Jack to meet her family. Everyone was happy around the dinner table. Her mother showed Annie a video where she was wearing ice skates and dancing gracefully on the ice. Her every movement displayed her beauty and confidence. Jack was deeply attracted to Annie in the video, but Annie was very reluctant to talk about those days. She had long decided to never skate again. Later Jack learned that Annie had taken up skating because of her father's influence. A few years ago, her father had left her forever. The trauma from her father's death would stay with Annie for life. To avoid reopening that wound, Annie never skated again. Jack could only feel regret about this. At that moment, Annie's stomach suddenly cramped with sharp pain. She thought she had just eaten something